Jeremy Christian was arrested for the murder of 2 men on a Max Light rail train in Portland, Oregon, in May 2017. Christian stabbed and killed 53-year-old retired Army officer Ricky John Best and 23-year-old Taliesin Murden Namkai Meche. He also stabbed 21-year-old Micah Fletcher, who survived. Christian had been screaming anti-Muslim and racist slurs at 2 black teenagers.
Christians killed Muslims, and the Jews killed themselves. You guys know people in place. That's a free country. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. You don't like it? Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Free speech or die. Get the fuck out. Oh, do something, bitch. Do something. Do something.
Passengers confronted him and barred him from the frightened teenagers, who had moved to the back of the train. Attempts to de-escalate the situation led to Christian brandishing a knife and stabbing the victims. After his 12 seconds of madness, Christian fled the train at the next transit center. Passengers followed him and called 911. Police arrested him as he boasted about the killings. In court, he showed no remorse and threatened a victim's relative. Christian was charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder, and was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms.
Surprise to you, but in addition to having the right to have a jury make decisions on whether a person should be found not guilty or guilty, a defendant also has a constitutional right to have a jury make findings of fact on what we call sentence enhancement facts. So based on any of those facts that you find exist, those could potentially serve as a basis for an increase in the sentence that is imposed. Your jury instruction that you should not consider the sentence imposed, what sentence might be imposed.
Evidence of his criminal past, including assault and racial slurs the day before the murders, led to an additional 25 years being added to his sentence. Randall Moore faced trial for the murder of his ex-wife, Therese Marie Lynch, in November 2011.
Be fine, just eat this, I'll be home in another day. Finally, DHS stepped in and said, hey, what's going on here? Teresa Ann wrote in her journals how she lied to the DHS worker and acted like her mom was at work or at the grocery store or things of this nature. And finally, it was too much. Neighbors stepped in and DHS finally sent her back to live with her father in Garner, Iowa. And then that's when she talks about the physical abuse first.
Moore kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and killed Lynch after she left him and filed a protective order against him.
Tell you something?
Well, you can tell me whatever you want.
I didn't want to do any of this.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, all I wanted was my son. I just wanted to see my 7-month-old baby. That's all I cared about.
He set up a hostage situation, shooting Officer Todd Rowland when he responded to cries from the apartment. Rowland survived, and Moore was eventually arrested. In court, Moore showed no remorse, interrupting Lynch's mother's victim impact statement. Judge Joel Novak sentenced Moore to 3 life sentences for Lynch's murder and 25 years for shooting Rowland.
Allow me to punish you any more than I'm doing now. If I could, I would.
Moore's behavior and lack of remorse left the judge and jury in disbelief. Camilla Gamet was in court for the murder of her boyfriend, Marcel Hill, in Michigan. In May 2018, Gamet attacked Hill in a rage, using several items as weapons. When police arrived, Hill was dead, and Gamet was covered in blood. She claimed self-defense, but evidence showed she stabbed Hill 12 times and hit him with a frying pan.
At trial, the way I was portrayed, mostly everything was lies. There was a little bit of truth, but mostly I was convicted off of lies.
Gamet showed no remorse, rolling her eyes and smiling during Hill's aunt's victim impact statement.
You plunge that knife in and out of his body.
Send her where she will also die.
I can't believe she stands before you doing.
Judge John McBain sentenced her to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, considering her history of domestic abuse.
In the front of his skull, and then you stabbed him no less than 12 times. And you know what? I was the only one in the courtroom that knew what kind of knife that was. And it was a big old long fillet knife. Because I used it to fillet pike and muskie and salmon. And I'll tell you, you gutted him like a fish in that apartment too. You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead. You didn't think he was an intruder. You know, maybe one stab wound. Okay, maybe that's 7 defense. But you put in 11 more to make sure he was good and dead.
Keith Allen Ferguson killed his wife, Tiffany Ferguson, and father-in-law James Weber in November 2014. Tiffany had moved to end their 17-year marriage, leading to an argument where Keith assaulted and killed her in front of their 4 children.
Their grandmother, friends, and community, a horrific pain. Do you have any idea of the emotional pain your kids have suffered and will continue to suffer their entire lives? Your Honor, on behalf of the kids, myself, and all of Chip's friends and family, please send Keith to prison for life without.
He then drove the kids to Tiffany's parents' house and fatally shot her father. Keith barricaded himself in a neighbor's house, holding a 59-year-old woman hostage before surrendering after 7 hours. In court, Keith showed no remorse and cursed at the judge and court officials.
Mr. Ferguson, can I get you to stand up there at the podium, please? All right, I need to have you raise your right hand for me. Okay, all right.
Pull me back from my cell.
Okay, stop.
Judge George Mertz sentenced him to life imprisonment without the chance of parole as part of a plea deal. Ronnie O'Neill III was in court for the double murder of his 9-year-old daughter, Ron Nevaeh O'Neill, and his girlfriend, Kenyatta Barron, in Riverview, Florida, in March 2018.
Mr. O'Neill, you need to speak audibly so that the jury can hear what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am, I haven't begun yet. I was talking to my father. He showed you a fraudulent recording where they allege that I beat Kenyatta Barron to death.
Ronnie shot Barron and struck his daughter with an axe. He also critically wounded his son, Ronnie O'Neill IV, who survived. Ronnie set the house on fire before fleeing. Police arrested him, and during his trial, Ronnie insisted on representing himself. He cross-examined his son, who testified against him. Ronnie was found guilty of 7 charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder.
Parents nor your Aisha, Miss Robinson, would let you come recover at their home. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm not going to get into a dispute. I'm just mentioning there was some evidence referencing that in the records. And all I can think about, because I knew that Miss Barron was not with you romantically at the time. And I knew that she just out of the goodness of her heart let you come stay with her. And
Judge Michelle Sisko, who had never seen a worse case, sentenced him to 3 life sentences without the chance of parole.